governments have a structure and they have a process. I really don't think this change will come from the government. I think this change will come from the people.
So I'm joined now by Pablo from Aeternity, and we're talking about the concept of if Brexit was on the blockchain. You have a concept here which would have given a completely different paradigm to the situation that we have seen when it comes to voting and governance. And I would love for you to share with our viewers a little bit more insight on this.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Yes, at Aeternity, we have a voting procedure. We have a governance app. And basically what we do is we get feedback from the community on all the different aspects that we do. And in one of our lighthouse projects, the Digital Party of Uruguay saw our application on the blockchain, and they were looking for a solution of, they entitle a concept of liquid democracy. The liquid democracy is a person doesn't vote every 4 or 5 years, but the representatives votes based on the results of each one of the polls that they do. So if Brexit would have been done in a liquid democracy way, we only had the vote of Brexit once. I'm sure that the people, as they saw the evolution of what was happening in terms of Brexit, they would have maybe decided to change their minds. But today, they don't consult the people. So if it were done on the blockchain through a liquid democracy application, today we might be having a different result than what's really happening.
And now if we look at moving forward and going into the future, how are we going to see projects like this be implemented? Do we have any real use cases that we can use, for example, as well?
Well, yes. What we've done is we spent the first 2 years working on the technology. And now that the technology is mature, what we're doing is implementing real-world use cases. For example, one of the things that we're doing is the traceability of cannabis, because all of the companies that are pharmaceuticals require the traceability, so there is consistency between one batch and another batch, especially when you have a medicine that's being used for cancer. You want to make sure that the effect is the same each time. Since cannabis is a new industry and the production cycles are really different, what they have the problem is having consistency between one and another batch. Blockchain, in this case, can do the traceability from seed to product, and you can verify independently that effectively this process was repeated each time. So that's one of the use cases. We're also, again, liquid democracy is another use case that's really, really interesting because it permits people to participate in a different way in government. And if you see the level of protests that are happening right now around the world, you see that there's a real need for this. And it's global. Hong Kong, Santiago, all over the world, people are protesting because they feel that their word or their vote or their ideas are not represented. So I think that's another very, very real use case that you can have.
And you've made an interesting point there, because we have seen throughout every year that this issue does arise, very recently with Barcelona and Catania. When we look at things going forward, is this the kind of thing that you think governments would look to implement? Is it something that we can expect or that should come into fruition soon?
Well, I really don't think this change will come from the government. I think this change will come from the people, because I think that what's governments have a structure and they have a process, and sometimes they don't necessarily want to ask people each time what their opinion is. They do it in a very controlled format, which is elections every X number of years or X number of months in the case of England. But I think what's going to happen is people are going to start asking to participate more actively in the decisions that the government takes on their behalf.
It was an absolute pleasure to hear some of your insights. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Well, that's all from us here. We'd love to hear how you found this segment, so share your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry.